Hi, my name is Cindy Rack, and I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. I'm also a real estate investor. I have rental properties, and I flip properties for immediate income. So hi everybody, I'm Anthony Rack's mom, if you know him or if you don't know him, but he's not here today. So today I'm doing a presentation on real estate, and got involved in real estate in 2006. It was a second career for me after all the kids were in school, and I wish I would have did it when I was your age, because now I'd be retired if I would have done it back then. So pay close attention, because if you think that this might be an option for you, real estate can be very, very lucrative, and you could retire early if you do it correctly. So this house here is a house that I bought in Mount Lebanon in January. It was trashed. This woman was in her 80s. She was mentally ill. She wouldn't let contractors in. The roof started caving in. The ceilings were caving in. Everything was a mess. And I bought the house, and I rehabbed it, and I sold it. So I do that type of real estate, and I have rental properties, and I'm also a realtor with Keller Williams. So there's a couple different ways that you can do real estate. One of them is as a long-term investor having rental properties. That could be commercial or it could be residential. Either way, I do residential. You can do flipping, which is a way to get immediate income, but you got to pay your taxes on that because you're making all your money at once, so you have a bigger tax hit. You can be a realtor or a broker, or you can actually be a builder, okay, which I'm not going to talk about today as a builder because that's a whole different animal if you want to get into that. So as a broker, you can be, as a realtor or a broker, you can be a buyer's agent. And what does a buyer's agent do? They have to get leads either through referrals, networking. You get these online searches, advertising to try to find people who are looking to buy a home. You know, friends and neighbors say, hey, my friend wants to sell or buy a house. Can you help her buy a house, right? So you have to find a lead, and then you have to find out what they're looking for. You have to be really good at investigating and finding out what they like, finding only the homes that they like, showing them, negotiating the contracts, you know, with the seller and making sure all that goes smoothly. You're involved in doing all the paperwork and making sure that the mortgage guy's doing what he's doing and the inspector person's doing what he's doing. So you have to be really good at managing projects, right? You have to be a really good people person to be able to work with people and be able to deal with people when it's difficult situations and try to smooth things over, be very diplomatic, right? And then you get the contract, and then you make a sale. Same thing, you could be a seller agent and you can work for the seller. That would be actually a listing agent. So somebody says, hey Cindy, I want to sell my house. And I say, great. And then I go over and I have to check out the house. I have to find out how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, is it updated, isn't it updated? Then you go online and you see what all the houses are selling for that look similar to theirs, and you put a price to it, and then you have to market it. So this is a house I marketed in Bethel Park earlier in the year, right? It was for sale, and you take pictures and you talk about the house. You try to beef it up as best as you can. So you have to have some marketing skills when you're in real estate, and then you find out things about the community. Like in the back, I have what the schools are. I have stuff about the community and all the different schools that are listed and how far away they are from the home. And so you have to be able to have some marketing ability, right? And then you could be a dual agent, which means that you could list a house, and then somebody's driving by and they say, oh, I really like that house, and they call you from the sign and say, could you show me this house? And if they don't have a realtor representing them, I could represent that person too, and then I can make the commission on both sides, right? So that's pretty lucrative.
If you were to sell a house, let's say for $200,000, someone put it on the market, how much would you?
It's my next slide.
Okay.
I'm going to show that right now. So you could also be the broker. So as a realtor in Pennsylvania, I just can't work for myself. I have to work for Keller Williams, Howard Hanna, Prudential. You have to hang your hat somewhere, so to speak. And so I work with Keller Williams. And there's a broker at Keller Williams, and he was a realtor for 5 years. Then you take additional training, and you can be a broker and actually open up your own real estate brokerage firm, right? So you can have realtors underneath you and even make more money. So that's a possibility too. One thing that is unique about Keller Williams, I want to try to do a quick little demonstration here. They're the only real estate company that I know that does this. So I'm going to have the boys in the back table, since I know them, come on up. So Chris, okay? Let's say Chris is a really good friend of mine, and he decides he wants to get into real estate. And he calls me up, he said, Cindy, I want to be a realtor. And I say, great, and I tell him all about Keller Williams. They have all this training, they have great things. So I bring him into my office, right? And he comes over here, and he signs up with Cindy, who's my broker, right? Cindy Schmidt. So now he's a realtor with Keller Williams. I referred him. Keller Williams is going to do all the training and everything, and I get a percentage of what Chris makes. They do profit sharing. No other real estate company does that. So then Nick's a good friend of mine too, and I say, hey Nick, Chris is doing a great job. He's making money. You want to be a realtor? He says, yeah, I want to be a realtor. So he comes in, and now he's a realtor with Keller Williams. They do all the training. I don't do anything, but I'm getting a percentage of what Nick makes. Now Nick has a friend named Chris. Okay, now I don't know Chris, but Nick knows Chris, and so he says, hey, Chris, I'm making all kind of money in real estate. Come on in, right? So we're going to put you behind Nick because you're one of Nick's guys, right? But I don't know Chris, but I'm going to get profit sharing on him because he's Nick's and Nick belongs to me, okay? And then over here there's Joel, and Joel is a friend of Chris's, and he comes in, right? And he's standing behind here, and he starts making money in real estate, and I can profit share on him. So as many frontline people I bring in, however many people bring in, like 7 people, I get commission on all of their deals that they do. So you can make some really, it's called passive income, and when you're at Keller Williams for 3 years, then it's considered vested, and you can will that money onto your family after you pass away. So, I mean, it's a pretty interesting phenomenon. The one guy in our office, he's been there 20 years. He only brought 6 people to Keller Williams, and they brought people. He's made over $500,000 in that 20 years just from the commissions from the other realtors. So it's a pretty lucrative business. Okay. Now, let's say we sell a house. Like an average house in Pittsburgh is about $250,000. So let's say you sell a house, or you have a buyer who buys a house for $250,000. The typical commission on that is 6%. Now you think, wow, $15,000, I made $15,000. It's not quite that simple. Everybody together makes $15,000, right? So the buyer broker gets 3% of that. So let's say it's Keller Williams is the buyer broker. That broker gets $7,500. So Keller Williams gets the money, not me. Then the seller side gets 3% of $7,500. Let's say it's Prudential or something like that. So each broker gets $7,500. Then the realtor makes a commission split with the broker. So Keller Williams has like most brokers are 50%. You get 50%, so you get half, $3,500. Well, what Keller Williams does for us is, like for me, I get 64% right off the bat. So I get $4,800 out of that $15,000 for selling that house and for the work that I did. Keller Williams has a franchise fee, so they get a little bit of it, but that's only up to $18,000. So once I pay them their $18,000, I start making that other 30% goes in my pocket, which is nice. And then they have office help, like I have an office, they have copiers, they have secretaries, so they charge you for that, and my portion of that is up to $3,000 a year, so 6%, $450 goes towards that, and then once I put in $3,000, then I get it. So at some point in time through the year, I could be keeping 100% of that $7,500 on my commission, which is really nice. And again, if you represent both sides, the buyer and the seller, then Keller Williams would get the whole $15,000, and I'd get 64% of that. So, that's how you would make money as a realtor. The other way is to rehab houses, like I said. That one house that I bought in Mount Lebanon. So I'm going to give you an example of how much I paid, how much it cost to rehab it, and how much profit I made. You need funds. You need to be able to get loans, so people need to trust you. You need to show that you can handle money. You need to be able to manage projects because it's a big project when you rehab a house. You're ripping out walls, you're putting in flooring, you're putting in new bathrooms, kitchens. So you need to be able to manage that, be a good project manager. You also need to be able to manage your contractors because some of them can be like really dumb, to be honest with you. I mean, they could do stupid things and, rip out a wall that they shouldn't have ripped out and, do things. And so you have to be able to say, oh my gosh, how am I going to, fix this problem? And then how are you going to manage a contractor who doesn't show up when he's supposed to show up? You have to be able to be diplomatic because you want the guy to work, so you can't just like scream and yell at him, right? You have to talk to him. What I try to do with all my contractors, I'll make a big pot of soup if it's cold in the winter, and I'll bring a big pot of soup, or I'll buy them some pizzas, right? And they're like, oh man, I love working for Cindy. I'll show up there any day, right? So you have to be able to be a type of person that likes to serve other people. So just because you're the boss doesn't mean that you can boss people around. A true boss is somebody who serves other people and makes them happy because then they want to work for you. Okay, that's how that works. So you have to have creativity, vision. You have to see a really ugly, beat-up old house. I mean, one of the houses, if you have time, you want to look at, this one here was in Lawrenceville. It was empty for 10 years. The walls were crumbling. It was a piece of disaster. I bought it for like $20,000, and we fixed it all up, and it was beautiful. I had before and after pictures, and I made like $32,000 on that, and we did that in 8 weeks. Yeah, you can pass both of them. Those are 2 of my rehabs. And the best part about the whole thing about rehabbing is that you help the community, you help your neighbors, you help everybody. So when you think about buy that old beat up houses that I buy, you know, the city's not making any money on the taxes, right? The neighbors are upset because the yard looks like a piece of crap and the house looks bad and everything looks horrible. So when you come in and you buy that property, you make the person who you're buying it off of really happy because they got rid of a piece of crap, right? They didn't like it and it wasn't doing anything. They didn't know what to do with it. And then you make the neighbors happy because you just made their neighborhood go up a notch because the house looks beautiful next to theirs. It doesn't look like crap anymore. And then you make the people that buy the house happy because, wow, they just got a beautiful new house. The city's happy because they can increase their taxes. You've gotten contractors, jobs, right? For weeks they're out there working and they're making money, and so they're putting food on the table. So when you do something like this, it really, you're really helping a lot of people, right? And then I'm happy. Hi, Jordan.
Hi.
Come on in.
Are you guys in questions? You guys can, as long as you have pieces of it, you guys can come in, you just have to find the money. I remember our class and like, supposed to be all of us. Yeah. I think we're gonna have several students join.
That's okay, no problem. Okay, so this rehab, the first picture that I showed you this morning, when I first came in, the very house that I showed you, I rehabbed in Mount Lebanon. It's hard to tell with the light, but this was the kitchen before. These 2 pictures were the before pictures. This was yellow and orange smoke from cigarette smoke. I mean, it was really pretty gross in there. Yeah, that helps a lot. See all that? That was like all over the walls and the floors. That was all throughout the house. All the walls were all yellowed and really gross like that. And there was the cabinets were falling apart, the ceiling was falling apart. So we ripped out the floor, and here the original floor was still there, the original wood floor. So we refinished it, we put in new cabinets. This was a wall right here originally into the dining room. We ripped it out, put a nice island in there. So, you know, when you do something with that, you just have to have vision, because when you look at something like this, hi Alex, how you doing? When you look at something like this, you're thinking, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with that? You know, I have no idea what to do with that house. So you have to have a lot of vision in order to be able to do rehabbing. So I purchased the house for $93,000. I had a private investor who worked with me on it. It cost me $95,000 to rehab it. Okay, I put double the amount of money into the house to rehab it. Closing costs are things like paying commissions, paying transfer taxes. There's different things you have to pay when you buy and sell a house. So that was $20,000. So I got a $38,000 profit on that house, and I did it in 10 weeks. Okay, and so you can make a lot of profit on these types of properties when you do this kind of stuff. It would have taken 8 weeks, but it was the middle of winter and we couldn't get the roof done and stuff like that. So this house sold before I can even put it on the market. I put a little sign out front that said, coming soon, completely renovated. A realtor was driving by. She called me and says, hey, tell me about this. And I gave her the code to go in. And that afternoon, she brought her buyers over there. And that night, I had a full price offer. I said, I'm going to be putting it on the multi-list. I'm probably going to have a bidding war on it by Friday. So don't bring me any low bids. She gave me full asking price with no other options. It was just full price. So if you do it right, okay, then you can really make some good money.
Where was this house?
Mount Lebanon. So the other way is through a long-term investor. So we looked at being a realtor, right, and how you can make money that way. We looked at rehabbing houses and how you can make money that way. The other way is for long-term rentals. So I have 6 rental properties, and they're all residential rental properties. And you can make some really good money, and I'm going to show you an example of the kind of money. What's nice about that is you're building wealth. So whether you decide to do real estate for a career or not, I recommend, as you're in your 20s and you get out of college, you start getting a job, save your money, get a down payment, buy rental properties, okay? Even if you don't do that as a career, it's good to have those things for helping you with early retirement. So you can't spend all your profits at once because, you know, you're going to need to repair. Somebody's going to move out and trash the place, and you might have to put some new carpet and paint it. Refrigerator might break, things of that nature. So you have to put some money aside for that. Commercial deals are really big. You can make a lot of money on those. They're really long-term leases. And you have to be able, you can manage the properties yourself, or you can hire a company, property management company, to manage them for you, to get your renters in and stuff like that. But I have to tell you, you have to have a lot of fortitude as a renter, because people are going to give you every story in the book why they can't pay the rent, right? And you can't accept that. You just have to say, look, this is the deal. I have to pay my mortgage, I have to pay my taxes, I have to pay my light bill. The rent's due on this date. If I don't have it by the 10th, it's due on the 1st. If I don't have it by the 10th, I'm sorry, but you got to go. And you go to the magistrate and you get them out. And that's hard to do because you feel bad for people and you want to listen to them. But I could tell you, if they're late once, they're going to be late again, 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 and you're running a business. So you have to be able to be firm and very, very hard on people when you have to. But also at the same time, you know, I have one renter. The girl was on time, and she got in a horrible car accident in March. And she was in the hospital for over a month. And her sister, who has her own place, is over there trying to take care of her teenagers, pay 2 apartment rents. Okay, this poor woman doesn't make that much money, and she is working really hard. And she's, you know, every time I turn around, she's giving me 300 here, 500 here. So because I understand the situation, I don't want to put her teenage kids out on the street. You know, I'm working with her because she's being faithful to me and she's making sure that she's getting the payments in. So there are certain situations that you have to work with people in, but for the most part, you have to have a lot of fortitude to tell them when it's time to leave, you got to go. So this is an example of one of my properties. This is a duplex. It's in Troy Hill on the north side. I purchased it in 2006 for $20,000. That was my first purchase. I put about $25,000 into it, a new furnace, I put some new siding on it, and a couple other things to make it look really nice. I painted it, had some new carpeting put in. So my mortgage on this property is $259 a month. The water bill's about $100 a month. The tenants pay the gas and electric, okay, so I don't have to pay that. Insurance is about $100 a month, and taxes are about $80 a month. So my monthly expenses are about $539 for this property. But the rent, my upstairs 3-bedroom gets $560, and my first floor 1-bedroom gets $475. So I'm making about $1,000 a month, and my expenses are $539. So I'm cash flowing, is what they call it, is what's left over after your expenses is about $469 a month on that one property. So times that by 6 properties, right? Now you can't spend all that because, you know, something might break, you might need new carpet or paint. You have to budget some of that aside. But your renters are paying your mortgage. A couple things to keep in mind is not only are you making money every month, you're not paying the bill. Your renters are paying your mortgage up here. That comes out of the rent. So you're going to own this building one day and you didn't pay a penny for it. Okay, the renters paid it for you, plus you made money. And the best part is you're not going to pay taxes on all that because it's depreciation. Okay, when you get your tax at the end there, you learn about depreciation, and because that house gets older and older, the tax purposes allow you to depreciate it. So I'm not even paying taxes on all that money, right? And then you have little office expenses. You can, you know, deduct your car, you're driving your car, you're using your phone, all that kind of stuff is all expenses that you're going to pay anyway, and you can deduct that through your business. So even though you're making money, it doesn't look like you're making money. It's just it's an amazing thing. Okay, so the power in rentals is, if let's say you wanted to make $10,000 a month when you retire. If you're 18 and you start purchasing one rental property a year over the next 20 years, and it's just little duplexes like mine, it doesn't have to be big commercial things, you can do that. I mean, if you have all these properties, then you're going to own some of them. By the time 20 years go by, your mortgage is paid off, you're going to own them outright. You could sell them, make, you know, 50, 60, 70, $100,000, $200,000 on them, depending on how much they were. So when you have rental properties, you're building wealth, okay? The renters are paying for your properties that you're going to own and that you can sell, or you could just keep renting and renting and renting and let that be your retirement income, and then you could will those properties to your kids and let them have the wealth. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with rental properties. So the skill set, you have to be good at keeping track of your expenses, okay? You have to know a little bit of bookkeeping. You have to be really good at project management. You have to have good decision-making skills. You're going to make mistakes. You can't say, oh, well, I blew that one. Can't do that. You say, okay, I made a mistake. I screwed up. What did I learn from it? And you got to keep moving forward, okay? You can't look back. You have to really be a good manager of your time because you're your own boss, okay? You can sit around all afternoon playing video games, right, or going to the mall shopping, but you're not making any money when you do that. So you have to be very disciplined with your time. You have to be a good networker. You have to get out, talk to everybody you know, not be afraid to talk wherever you are. Make sure people know what you do. Everywhere I go, tell people, do you know somebody has an old beat-up house? Maybe their parents moved to a nursing home and it's dated. You don't know what to do with it. You know, call me. Let me know because I buy those houses. I like to fix them up and flip them. So you have to be very good at networking and not being afraid to tell people what you do. You have to work well with others. Like I said, you have to be a servant leader. No matter what business, if you decide to be an entrepreneur, no matter what business you're in, the more you serve people, the better off they're going to want to work for you. Your customers are going to want to stay with you, and your employees are going to want to stay with you if you take care of them. Again, you have to be disciplined and very organized. So the cost to get my real estate license, I went to class. It was like $300. I mean, it wasn't nothing like a college degree. $300 to take the classes, another $300 a year to keep my license, another $50 a month to be on the MLS. It costs about $2,000 a year to be a realtor, unless you want to spend more money on marketing and flyers and things like that, or pay somebody to do some of those things for you. Then there's a little bit more money. At first, you need probably $10,000 to start as a realtor because it's going to take you months before you start networking and buying, getting somebody to trust you to sell their house or to buy a house from them. And then it takes a couple months for the mortgage, so you won't see a paycheck for a few months down the road. So it does take a little bit of startup money, and then it takes about $2,000 a year at a minimum to keep it going. For my investor classes, I took a class in 2006. It cost me $6,500. It's like a couple credits at college, right? $6,500 is a 3-day weekend. I had a mentor work with me. But my first house, I made $14,000 on it by going to his classes. So I paid for my classes, and I made another $7,500 in my pocket, and I learned a whole lot because you're getting on-the-job training. Every time you do a rehab, you learn something new, something different. So there's always, when you're in real estate, continuing education is a must. You have to keep your real estate license. It's not much. It's like $180 a year, 14 credits every 2 years or something like that, and so you have to do that. And I always want to go through new classes to learn about different things so that I can be sharp and on top of my game with my business. So situations and circumstances, you will have monthly expenses you have to deal with. You have to make sure that you're keeping track of them. You need to be living at home at first to get started, right, because you're not going to have a lot of money. Sometimes you have to bite your tongue, with clients, and you have to really know how to be able to be a diplomat with those things. Sometimes you have to give something up, and sometimes you have to go the extra mile. Like I was mentioning earlier with my tenant, I have to go the extra mile to try to help her. The girl's in trouble and she needs help and she's working with me, and so sometimes you have to be able to do that. I mean, one of my tenants one time, he robbed Ritter's Diner with a BB gun, okay? He was scared, he needed money, he didn't know what to do, and so he robbed the diner, and the police were there, and they grabbed him and they put him in jail, right? And so now I have an apartment there. He left his wife, and he had 2 little kids. I mean, it was a really tragic thing. She didn't have the money to stay there, and stuff like that happens. You have to deal with it. You have to know how to deal with those situations. So just remember, it's your business and your life. You have your own time. You manage your own time. You make your own money. You determine how much time am I going to spend and how much money am I going to make. And when you work with people that don't always do their job, with contractors, you have to be able to be, again, diplomatic about that. So the rewards, you can build retirement income, like I was showing you earlier as a realtor. You can bring other realtors in and get profit sharing on that. That's retirement income. Rental properties are retirement income. And I know you're thinking retirement, I'm 18 years old, but trust me, it goes faster than you can ever imagine, right, Laura? It goes, 1 minute you're 18, and next minute you're having kids, and next minute they're graduating from high school. It's just like, you blink your eye and it's over. So you want to start thinking about retirement no matter what career you decide to do. If you have an opportunity to put money in a 401k and they tell you to put 15% and you think, oh my gosh, 15% of my pay, you won't even miss it. And before you know it, you have a nice retirement built up. So always think about those things. It's really important. Another reward is you own your own time. You can make it part-time or full-time. It's my own business. I can come in here and I can spend time talking to you guys about a career if you want. Satisfaction that you're contributing to the community and to other people's lives and making it better. And there's always going to be a place, somebody's going to need a place to live. So you can't, if you go to a bank and you say, would you give me a loan? It's because I want to buy some stocks. They're going to laugh you right out the door, right? But if you go to the bank and ask for a loan for property, they know it's real, okay? So the market might go up and the market might go down, but no matter what, real estate is always going to be a way that you can make money and build wealth. So over here is just a family. Hey, they got a really nice house. You help them get into that house. You have money for your retirement, and you have money for your kids that's willable that goes on to your next generation. So that's the presentation. I know I flipped through it really quickly, but I wanted to be able to leave some time for questions if anybody had any questions.
So what questions do you guys have?
They're just here to get out of class. Yeah, you have a class. Go ahead, wait one second. Go ahead. I have 6 rental properties right now. If I was started at your age, I'd probably have about 30 right now. Nick.
Whatever happened to that guy that robbed the store with the BB gun?
He's in jail.
Oh, I mean like the house and his family.
Well, she had to move out. She ended up moving in with her parents, and I got a new renter. You know, and they trashed the place. They weren't very nice and neat, and I probably had to put about $3,000 into my property to fix it back up to rent it to the next person. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get really, really good renters. Like these renters I have right now is a girl and a guy from Burmese, and they work at a restaurant, and they pay me the rent 2 weeks early every month. You know, it's really nice. And most of my renters, I have really good renters. And you learn, when you have renters, you learn how to screen people really well. You know, like if you talk to people over the phone, like this one guy, he called me for a property I had, and I said, okay, tell me a little about yourself. He said, well, I just got out of jail. And I said, oh, and I said, you have a job yet? No. It's like, well, how do you think you're going to pass the financial, credit check with me? You need to be able to have a job, And I said, well, what were you in jail for? He said, murder. I said, murder, okay. I said, I don't think so, And now, as a felon, I could say that, right? I didn't say it that way, but I wished him luck and everything, and but I told him he just wouldn't be able to pass all the credit checks. But as a felon, I can turn him down if I wanted to. But anything else, I can't. I mean, race, color, handicapped, I can't turn anybody down. Now, if I have an apartment and it's not handicap accessible, it's not my responsibility to make it handicap accessible. But if a handicapped person wants to rent my place and they want to pay the money to make it accessible for them, I have to allow them to do that. Okay, so there's certain things you have to know. Lots of the there's it's called the I can't remember what act it's called, but it's you have to really know the laws, because you can get really a lot of trouble if you rent this, if they think that you're discriminating against somebody. Okay, so I've rented to women, I've rented to men, I've rented to college graduates, I've rented to Section 8, I've rented to blacks, I rent to whites, I rent to Chinese. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me as long as you pay your rent. That's the most important thing. You just can't, people are people, and you got to give everybody a chance and an opportunity.
Now, you also are a realtor for Keller
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
So when you are there whenever you show a house, have any of you ever gone to see a house whenever it's for sale? So what do you find are some of the challenges?
Well, like right now I'm working with a client, and they want to move into Mount Lebanon, and they're having a hard time finding a house because the houses they're looking at are too small for the price range. So they're realizing, okay, I got to spend more money if I want a bigger house, right? So you have to really meet with the client and really understand what their needs are before you take time to go out and show them properties. When you're listing a house, so what I try to do is tell people what are some things that you can do to your house to make it more attractive so that it'll sell faster. And one thing is you have to tell, it's hard because some houses have a lot of clutter in them. And you want to be diplomatic about it, but you have to say, if the less furniture you have, the less clutter you have, the bigger the rooms look, the better chance you have of selling your property.
And kitchens, bathrooms, most
Yeah.
important?
Yeah, kitchens and bathrooms are definitely the most important. And if somebody, and so when you're working with a client, you have to show them houses that sold that have similar kitchens and bathrooms. So you're not going to compare their house to a newer house that has a brand new kitchen and bathroom, and maybe their kitchen and bathroom's 20 years old. So you show them houses that have sold in the market that have kitchens and bathrooms that are 20 years old, because you have pictures of everything. And so you know that, and that's how you compare when you make comparables on the marketplace. Any other questions? Questions about managing your time or, you know,
To get the real estate license, is there an age requirement?
18.
18?
Yep, you can be 18, and you can do it online or you can do it at a class. Yes, Alex?
Do you sell, like, I know you do, like, for that, but do you sell houses, do you buy houses, flip them, and then just sell them, or do you rent houses?
Yeah, no, that's the one house that I did. In January, I bought a house in Mount Lebanon for 93. You came in late, so you missed that. I bought a house in Mount Lebanon for $93,000, and it was really trashed. And I put another $95,000 into it, and then it sold right away, and I made $38,000. It was 10 weeks. It only took 10 weeks to do it in the middle of winter.
So they might be thinking, like, how did you come up with the $95,000 to put into it? You got a loan?
Right now, I am lucky that I have a private investor. So I have a friend of mine that's really rich, and he knows that I do this. I'm very serious about it, and you can't buy homes on emotion. That the worst thing you can do when you buy a property is to say, oh my gosh, this house is perfect, and I really want it, and then you end up paying a little bit more money than you should pay for it, and then you don't make any money. And then you maybe run into a pipe breaks, and you got to put an extra $3,000 that you weren't thinking about, stuff like that. So you have to know how to buy the house in the first place, which is what they teach you in investment training. They make you back into it. So I knew I could get about $250,000 for this house when it was fixed up. And I know that I have to pay some taxes and some closing costs and realtor fees and stuff like that, so I take that out. I know I want to make a profit, so I take that out. And then I know just from going to all the different Home Depots, I know how much it's going to cost to paint a house. It's going to cost me $5,000 to paint a house. It's going to cost me $15,000 for a kitchen. It's going to cost me $3,000 for a bathroom. It's going to cost me $4,000 to refinish the floors, $8,000 for a roof. You know, so I add all that up and I say, okay, this is how much it's going to cost me to fix this place. And I subtract all that out and I know this is how much I can buy this house for. I can buy this house for $50,000 or whatever the price is. And then you see a house and you buy it for 70 and then you're screwed because you're not going to make any money. So you can't be emotional. You have to back into the numbers, know what your numbers are, and then that's how you buy.
What's like the average time that like one of your houses like sits on the market before you sell it?
5 days.
5 days.
5 days, yeah. The only reason why is because I'm very picky. See, I want a house. I don't want a house like this house here. This guy who rehabbed this house did a nice job rehabbing it, but it was not the right house with the right bones, okay? And the reason when I say that is the bedrooms upstairs, the ceilings were so angled that you couldn't have a male be up there. It could only be kids, basically. You can't have adults. The powder room had an angled ceiling, which I could barely stand in, and I'm only 5'2", okay? And the backyard was on a hill, and the driveway was steep, and so a lot of people aren't going to buy that, right? So when you buy a house, it has to start with good bones. So the house in Mount Lebanon location, it was right behind Mellon Middle School. So the kids can walk to the middle school, the primary school, the high school. You're 3 blocks from downtown Mount Lebanon if you want to walk to Mount Lebanon on Sundays. It had a level lot. It was brick, which adds more money to it. It was at least 3 bedrooms, which adds more money. There was room for me to put a powder room on the first floor, which adds more money. There was a big back porch that was nice. It had a garage. And it wasn't a busy street. So everything, if you fix that house up the right way, there isn't any reason somebody would say no if they're looking in that price range. So anybody that's looking for a $250,000 house, they're going to get to my house, and there's not going to be any reason that they could say no, because it's, I put granite countertops, I put the upgraded kitchen cabinets, I make sure it's going to be done right, okay? And so now they see it, like that house wasn't even on the market. It didn't even make it to the multi-list. A realtor drove by, she brought her client over that afternoon, and they gave me a full price offer that night. So if you buy it right, you can definitely sell it fast. Because I want to turn my money around so I can buy the next one. I don't want it sitting on the market for 9 months, right? I need my money so I can go on to the next one.
So to get the real estate license is not a big investment.
No.
So this is definitely an alternative route other than the 4-year college. You can still
Oh.
have a very good living ethic and live at home while they...
Oh, definitely. You definitely can. The money, the time, the 4 years in college, and not that I don't think college is great. My daughter's in college right now. But I know that you can seriously, in the 4 years you can be in college, you could already be making a serious amount of money in real estate in 4 years. But again, you have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined because it's your own time. So you have to know that You know, if you're a kind of person that, will get on Facebook and you're sitting on there for 4 hours before you even know what went by, like, then you don't want to be a realtor because you're not going to be able to be disciplined enough to do what you have to do, right?
Any deal breakers for you whenever you go to buy a house, like that you wouldn't touch it?
Well, the numbers have to work, right? And so if there's 35 steps to get to the front door, no, because that's a reason for somebody to say no. If it's on a busy street, no. If it's on a hill, no, I won't buy it. If it has no backyard, I won't buy it. If it's 2 bedrooms, I won't buy it. It has to have at least 1.5 baths. It has to have a garage. It should be brick, so I look for all the right bones. Even though it's empty for 10 years and the walls are crumbling, it doesn't matter because I know that house in Lawrenceville was right down the street from Children's Hospital. There's a lot of doctors moving in. It had parking in the back, which is very rare in the city, so you had off-street parking. It was brick. It had this huge third-floor family room that was amazing, and the walls were crumbling, and we saw that there was brick behind them. So we had somebody, they would just crumble, chipped away a whole 32-foot wall that was brick, all the plaster off of it, sealed it, and had an exposed brick wall up on the 3rd floor that was gorgeous, okay? And we had the tin ceilings in the kitchen. And so we just used some cheap paint over at Home Depot to make it look like bronze. And the whole ceiling was just sparkling bronze. And everybody was like, oh my gosh. It had the original staircase in it. So there were things there that I saw no matter how, there were pigeons living in the 3rd floor because the window was broken out. There was no ceilings up there. It was really bad. But I knew it had the right bones, and I knew that if you put the right money into it and it worked in the right numbers, that you can make money.
So you really have to have a vision.
You have to have a vision. Definitely have to have a vision, yeah. Well, there are 2 different strategies. One, I want to.
That question over there, it was a good question.
It was a really good question. Why would you want to flip as opposed to rent, or rent as opposed to flip? So it's 2 different strategies. One provides you income today, which is flipping, so you need to make a living today, and one provides you income for the future for your retirement. So one's building your wealth, and one is giving you income. Any other questions?
How many of you are kind of curious or interested about this type of a career? Anybody in here? Several people. I think it's pretty intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Question over here?
Yeah.
Is there any way that, is it like a full-time job, or is it like something that you can do on the side?
You can do both. I mean, it really all depends on how much extra time you have. If you do it before you have kids, you can certainly have another job and then start to buy rental properties, sell real estate on the side. If you want to be a realtor, you can do that on the side for a while until you build up enough money to quit your job and do it full time. Because the one thing about your own business is you don't get benefits, right? You don't get health insurance like if you get a job. So you're paying your own health insurance and stuff like that, which is an expense, and you got to add that into all your expenses. For me, my husband has a job, so I'm on his health insurance. So I don't have to worry about paying that. Any other questions? All right, thank you very much. You have my phone numbers on that sheet. My email's there. Call me, email me if you want to think about that or have questions. Thank you.